Welcome my dear students. So today's lecture we are going to see the design of a singly reinforced rectangular beam. So first you need to understand what do you mean by a singly reinforced rectangular beam. So what do you mean by a singly reinforced rectangular beam? So when the load is being applied for a simply supported beam, the compression will be coming at the top and the tension will be coming at the bottom. So to take care of that, you will provide to take care of the tension coming at the bottom. You will provide the reinforcement at the bottom. So when the reinforcement is provided at the bottom surface for a simply supported beam, or when the reinforcement is provided only at the tension phase, then such a beam is called as a singly reinforced beam. If the section is rectangular, then such a section is called as a singly reinforced rectangular section. So if I am drawing a cross section of this beam and taking a section at the mid of your beam and bars, I'm placing two bars at the tension side. I'm placing two bars at the tension side. Then the distance from the extreme compression fiber in the simply supported beam, that extreme compression fiber is at the top, to the centroid of the centroid of the reinforcement is called as the effective depth, which is represented by small d. That is, effective depth means what? The distance from the extreme compression fiber to centroid of your reinforcement is called as the effective depth, represented by small d. The distance from the centroid of your reinforcement to bottom of your, or the extreme bottom fiber, is called as the effective cover, Now if you see, I will be representing the width of the beam as small b. The width of the beam will be represented as small b. That is the width of the beam will be represented as small b, and capital D will represent the overall depth of your beam. Represent the overall depth. Now the distance from the bottom of the reinforcement, that is the distance from the bottom of the reinforcement to the extreme bottom fiber, is called as your, this distance is called as your clear cover, or simply cover, or we will also call it as nominal cover. So the distance from the bottom of your reinforcement, the extreme distance bottom of your reinforcement to the extreme fiber, or the minimum distance from the reinforcement to the edge of the beam or the bottom of the beam, is called as your clear cover, or simply cover, or it is also called as your nominal cover. So these are the terminologies that you need to know. And if I am considering the spacing between these two bars, the spacing between these two bars should be either the bar diameter, or the size of the aggregate plus 5 mm, whichever is larger. You should take whichever is larger. This is being done because when you are pouring the concrete inside this will be, and this section will be under a formwork. This beam section will be under a formwork. When you are pouring the concrete, the concrete should easily pass through this point. And it should fill the gap over here. If the spacing is very much small, what will happen? The aggregate will not pass through this point, and this portion will not be filled. Now you are going to study the design of beams. That is the limit state of, it comes under the limit state of collapse, flexure. That is a bending tensile stress. This is flexure. In the design of beams, you will study the limit state of collapse, flexure. And the first one that you are going to study, design of beams, is the design and analysis of singly reinforced rectangular beam section. The first thing you are going to study is the design and analysis of a singly reinforced rectangular beam section. The second one you will study is the design and analysis of doubly reinforced rectangular beam section. Here you need to study some of the assumptions made in the limit state of flexure. That is limit state of collapse flexure. You need to study some assumptions made. You can see in IS 456 2000 clause number 38.1, you can see the assumptions made in limit state of flexure. So the first assumption is the plane section remains plane before and after bending. So what does that mean? The plane section remains plane before and after bending, which means the strain variation. This means what? The strain variation is linear. The strain variation is linear. If you are having a singular reinforced section like this, with reinforcement at the bottom, then the strain variation will be linear with a maximum compressive strain of 0.0035, and at the bottom you will get a strain which is not less than 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by ES. I will tell you why it's not less than 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by ES when you study the different types of sections. Okay, so time being, you please understand first assumption, that is the plane section remains plane before and after bending, means the strain variation is linear. That is the first assumption in your limit state of collapse flexure. Now the second assumption is you can see here the maximum strain in concrete at the outermost compression fiber is taken as 0.0035 in bending. This we have studied when we are discussing on the stress strain curve for concrete. As you can see here, the maximum strain in concrete, the second assumption, the maximum strain in concrete at the outermost compression fiber is taken as 0.0035. Now the third assumption you can see from IS 456, it is the relationship between the stress strain relation in concrete is assumed to be a rectangular parabolic as shown in figure 21. We have discussed this in detail. That is, you have your FCK value here, so considering the field condition, you divide it by a factor of 1.5, that is, you will get it as 0.67 FCK. Then further applying a factor of safety of 1.5, you will get this as 0.67 FCK divided by 1.5, you will get it as 0.446 FCK. I hope you remember that. So according to IS 456, the third assumption is the relationship between the stress strain relation in concrete is assumed to be a rectangular parabola as shown in figure 23. The maximum stress is taken as 0.446 FCK. So the relationship between the stress strain relation in concrete is assumed to be a rectangular parabola as shown in figure 21 of your IS 456. The maximum stress is taken as 0.446 FCK. The fourth assumption is the tensile strength of concrete is ignored. Which means all the tensile stresses are taken by the steel only. This is based on crack section theory. That is, the tensile strength of the concrete is ignored. That is, all the tension that is coming on the member is taken by the steel reinforcement. Now the fifth assumption you can see, the stresses in reinforcement are to be derived from the respective stress strain curve for the type of steel used. This is given in figure number 23 for TMT bars or your HYSD bars, and for mild steel bars. 23A is for HYSD bars and 23B is for your mild steel bars. This we have explained before. You can see the proof stress line connecting the proof stress. You have given yield, that is Fy, then divided by a factor of safety of 1.1 divided by 1.15, that is a 0.87 Fy. You can see here. Similarly, for HYSD bars, the lower yield point is taken as your yield stress. For mild steel bars, the lower yield point is taken as your yield stress. for mild steel bars, the lower yield point is taken as a yield stress, and divide by a factor of 1.15 will give you the design stress for mild steel. You can see in figure number 23A and B, the stresses in reinforcement is to be derived from the respective stress strain curve for the type of steel used. 23A gives you for HYSD bars and 23B gives you for your mild steel. Now the assumption number 6, the maximum strain in tension reinforcement in the section at failure shall not be less than Fy by 1.15 ES plus 0.002. That is the maximum strain in the tension reinforcement at the failure should not be less than 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by ES. I will tell you why this assumption is made while discussing the different types of failures in a singular reinforced section. So these are the assumptions in the limit state of collapse flexure.